It's foundational to absolutely everything, beat of the heart. And it is through the beat of our heart that we are connected to the light of our soul and spirit, and through the beat of the heart of earth that we are connected to the spiritual hierarchy of earth. And without the heartbeat, there is no life. And without connection to the heartbeat of the earth, there is no divine life. Okay. I find it quite difficult at Easter time to see all the images of the crucified Jesus everywhere, because that's not, it's so last great age. It's so much about the Piscean age, and really the Easter festival is a celebration of nature, and it's a celebration of renewal, and it's a celebration of growth. And the symbol, the egg, which has been, hijacked for chocolate, really is the keynote. The keynote, because an egg holds the potential for life, and within it there's a whole universe, and then there's the shell that keeps what's inside separated from what's outside. And that's a bit of a metaphor, really, for life on earth, where we have the greater wondrous spiritual realms, and then we have the shell, and then we have inside the potential for life everlasting. And that the energy of the egg and the life, the egg has within it the yolk and the white, it has the yang and the yin, and it's only when they're fertilised and put together and effort occurs that there's a breakthrough into new life. And that whole process of birthing and moving from potential, which is what an egg is, to the actual reality is what's going on earth at the moment. Humanity are trying to birth out of the egg of separated self into the greater consciousness and into the life everlasting. And this is a hard birth. There's a hard birth going on earth, and the stages for the birth started back in the 70s, and we don't know when the Holy Child, who is really us, the human family, when we will finally be birthed. It could be another few hundred years, and each one of the major festivals brings through the download of light that assists with this birthing energy. Now the midwives and the doctors, they say, well, it's really the soul. Well, they say the soul. They say it's the child that initiates the push for actual birth, and that initiation of the will for life, it comes from the soul. And the shell has to crack. And the energy of the push for the new life on earth is painful, because we're all being contracted and we've outgrown our safe confines, but we need to put in effort. And we get great assistance during the major festivals. And when I speak about the major festivals, I'm talking about the solstices and the equinoxes. I'm talking about the full moon festivals. I'm talking about Easter, this festival of renewal and resurrection. I'm talking about the Vesak. I'm talking about the Asala. I'm speaking about Pentecost. I'm talking about the Archangel Michael and the Festival of All Angels. We have many opportunities throughout the year where the inflow of potent spiritual light helps us in this cracking of the shell, because ideally we're meant to be birthing as a race. It's the human race that are meant to be birthing into the age of the heart. So it's a little bit different to just an individual baby trying to take birth. When I was preparing for the talk, I was reminded of I've got it written up here, the Sri Krishna's quote from the Bhagavad Gita. And he says, whenever there is a withering of the law and an uprising of lawlessness on all sides, then I manifest myself, for the salvation of the righteous and the destruction of such as do evil. For the firm establishing of the law, I come to birth, age after age. So it's important to know that we are not alone in this birthing process, and that the holy ones, the majority of the holy ones work from the inner realms of light, and they have their vehicles, their initiates, their disciples in the world who do their bidding. And as we get closer and closer to the inauguration of the next stage, so we have more of the avataric souls come through. Now, Sri Krishna was an avataric soul. It looks like we have somebody. Yeah, so Sri Krishna's an avataric soul, and in the past, we have a Buddha for each age, and we have a Christ for each age. And most people, when they think of Jesus, they think of Jesus as being the Christ. Whereas from a theosophical perspective, the Lord Jesus, who it's hard to use the word separated when I speak about the Lord Jesus, but I will use that word. Lord Jesus was in his own energy a separate soul to the energy of the Christ, who is the Lord Maitreya, who simply interpenetrated and used the vehicles of the Lord Jesus for a 3-year period during Palestine. So over the 33 years that the Lord Jesus took incarnation, there were 3 years of that 33 where he was overshadowed by the energy of the Lord Maitreya, the Christ. And a similar thing happened with Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna, being one of the avatars for humanity, was overshadowed by the Christ, by the Lord Maitreya. And what is coming in the future is an incarnation of the Christ in his own right, without overshadowing.
That's what the two are still waiting for.
That's what we're all waiting for. We're waiting. We're waiting. And this is the first time in the human kingdom's experience that the Christ will come in his own body, rather than using a 2 or a 3 year window of overshadowing of a very close co-worker. That's why I say when I talk about the Lord Jesus, I can't talk about the Lord Jesus without talking about his co-workers. Just as we have co-workers. And whether we know each other, whether we've met for a first time or you've worked together for a decade, on a soul level, we have a co-worker energy which creates a vehicle through which the light of the group soul can then activate and work through this vehicle. And that's the principle of the dissemination of light that comes from the higher soul through a group. And so, of course, the spiritual hierarchy of Earth, they operate the same way. They have a group heart. And collectively, their group heart beats to the rhythm of the heart of Earth. Yeah? It would take us a while. We could probably do it. If we were, dedicated yogic practices, we could get our hearts beating to a similar rhythm. They do it. Okay? Okay? They do it. And when we attune our heart to the heart of Earth, then we connect in to the heart of all hearts, who is the Lord Maitreya. And so then we find life in the midst of this period of very hard birth that's going on. Basically for our whole incarnation. The goal for birthing the human kingdom en masse was supposed to happen around the Second World War, didn't happen. It's, we're overdue. We're overdue for the birth. And the avatars come to assist. And they come on every ray. So they'll come in science, they'll come in politics, they'll come in education, they'll come in religion. They'll come in increasingly more of the female bodies, because with the age of Aquarius, the age of the heart, the female initiates and the female souls and a handful of female avatars are coming, because that's the natural cycle. The prominence of the northern hemisphere and the prominence of the male initiates is fading as the female initiates and the southern hemisphere comes into its ascendancy. Things move in cycles. Yes, and we have there's such a battle going on Earth at the moment, and the hierarchy refer to it as the Great Battle, because it is the Great Battle, and it's the battle between the energy of darkness or greed or selfishness or evil, whatever word you'd like to use it, and the energy of goodness or light or love, and the battle is such that, well, think about at the moment, there's the 100 years of the Anzacs, and there's a lot of things on the television to do with the Great War and the last two wars, and the battle that was witnessed on the physical plane. And then the Second World War ended, and it appeared that the battle was over, but it wasn't really over. The forces of materialism hadn't really given up, they'd just withdrawn to the astral plane, 50, 60 years, but they haven't withdrawn anymore, they're back on the physical plane. And so therefore the hierarchy are coming back on the physical plane through the incarnation of Avatars to act as a lightning rod and a foci in politics and science and education and religion and every area of life, because that's the way it works. And we know that goodness and love always win out. It just takes the time that it takes. And the reason it takes the time that it takes is because we have free will. Because it's not just a battle between the Ascended Masters and the Dark Brotherhood, although that is going on too. It's actually a battle to see what we choose. Okay? It's a battle to resolve the national karma, the individual karma, the group karma, the racial karma, yeah? All the various karmas that have built up over the last 25,000 years, the last great age. And I won't talk about that because I'll go off on another tangent. But we're at the end of a multiplicity of cycles. For instance, we've just had a total solar eclipse in the last degree of Pisces, which is one of the significators for the end of the Piscean age, but it's also a significator for the end of the Great Age, which is 12 ages. So we have cycles within cycles within cycles that are ending. And everybody's had those kind of experiences in your life where one thing ends and then another and then another and then another, and you end up with you don't know where you're going because everything that was your life has wound up. So we've all had those experiences, but it's a bit different when the whole planet is having such an experience. And what happens with this cycle is that it generates enormous fear. It's sort of hardwired into our DNA to be afraid of change, and to be afraid of death, and to be afraid of endings. A bit like, the child inside the egg. Yeah, first there was the egg, and then the child's inside the womb, and the child's going to have to initiate birth. But really, is this a death or is this a birth? What is it? It's very fearful. There's a lot of fear involved with the moving forward out of the old cycle into new life. And unfortunately, that fear, which is part of the human condition, has been harvested and used against us. It's being used against us in the political sphere. It's being used against us around the banking sector. It's being used against us in any area of life that you can think. There are agendas to control us through fear, because it's known to work for humanity, We are trying to develop the group heart, but we're much more simpatico with group fear. We've got that one down pat. We know how to do that. We haven't yet worked out how to maintain and generate and stand in group heart when something threatens the group. But we have to figure out how to do it, because otherwise we don't evolve. And this choice between whether we choose to align to the forces of goodness through the group heart, by finding things that we have in common, will separate humanity into those that will choose selfishness and fear, and staying inside the safe confines, and those who will choose the birth even though it's unknown. Okay? And every single time you have been through one of those situations in your life where you've had to leave everything behind and move forward, you've developed courage and capacity for change and resilience and faith and trust and hope, which are all the qualities that are necessary for the birth. Okay? So what we have to do now is to magnify those qualities in every group that we are involved in. Could be your family group, could be your work group, could be a social group. But every group that you are involved in, you have an opportunity to strengthen those qualities of the heart, to build the group heart. And if we do this, then the group heart, which moves clockwise incidentally, whereas the group fear moves anti-clockwise, down the plug hole in other words, as opposed to up the spiral. And the avatars are coming to support us with this process. Yes. The energy of birth and death, they hold the first ray, because they're the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega. The first ray energy, it pours into our solar system from Shamballa. That's where it comes, the centre where the will of God is known. This is where the first ray energy of birth and death, life and death, comes from. It comes from Shamballa. So during the major festivals, the Shamballa light opens and the first ray descends to assist with courage. And it's like a kick up the bum. It's like, okay, right, you lot, move forward. And the Easter festival is not about death, it's about new life, and it's about the descent of the Shamballa energy. Can the person closest to the kitchen get a little bit of water? Thank you. Sorry. I should have got that before. I wasn't thinking. So when the Shamballa energy descends, if it descends in its most potent manner, then we have cataclysmic actions and the body of the earth cracks. If it descends in slightly more gentle ways, then we find courage without so much fear. There's a very fine balance between how much courage we can harness without tipping us into fear. Many souls on earth have been here for a long time, and many of us have been here through and witnessed cataclysmic action. And so we've had our little deaths and our losses, but we've also witnessed the end of ages and the end of eras and ice ages and the end of Atlantis. Yeah? And we hold that as collective fear, and it keeps us from wanting to proceed with birth. It's like, what's the most courageous thing I could be doing to generate greater love or heart in my life? But as soon as we think of that idea, whatever it is, immediately we get the fear. What we might lose, what's the worst thing that could happen? Thank you. Yeah. So the lady of Shamballa, the queen of Shamballa, you could say that she's the queen of earth, really, and she's an avataric soul who, just a bit like, let's correlate her, she won't mind if I correlate her to someone like Queen Victoria. Think of a queenly energy and a capacity to hold strong will. Now the Queen of Earth, the Queen of Shamballa, she holds the Shamballa energy in its feminine, and under her work all the divine mothers. Okay? The Lady Mary, the Lady Magdalene, the Lady Isis, the Lady Yasodhara, the White Tara, a plethora of divine holy mothers who work for the Queen of Earth, who holds the feminine aspect of the Shamballa light. So she's a bit like the matron in the hospital, or Queen Victoria. She's the boss of the women. Yeah? So the Shamballa energy is coming in a way that we can access it if the Shamballa energy descends in its masculine counterpart, it would fry us. It's too strong. It's like, thousands of bolts of lightning. We would just be fried. But when it descends through the feminine, through the Queen of Earth, then as a group, not individually, but as a group, we can harness it. And a group will act as a conductor and a receiver for Shamballa energy. Now, where is the Shamballa energy meant to go? It's meant to go out into the world to areas and things that need changing. Yeah? Could be governments, could be the banking sector, could be the misappropriation of what's happening to the farmers with CSG. There's so many areas where we need the divine justice and divine will. But I can't do it individually and you can't do it individually. But when we connect to the group, all of a sudden we create a bit like a singing bowl. Yeah? And in the singing bowl we receive, and so we create the Grail. Yeah? And the best time to create a Grail is at a full moon, and the most auspicious festival for the Grail is Easter, which is this 3 days. So they want us to meet and to hold the energy and to catch the Grail, and there are two purposes in it. And one of the purposes is to heal us. Yeah? Of our fear, of our whatever needs healing. And whatever's left over, if I don't drink all of that, say that's the Grail, that's my aura. If I only drink that much, but I've collected that much, well then I've got 2/3 of it to send out. Yeah? So part of what we'll do in our meditation later on is to receive the Grail light to heal ourselves. But we can also send it out to our loved ones and to our families. Now the Grail energy holds the 6th ray. We know that the Lord Jesus is the master of the 6th ray, but in fact he's an archangel of the 1st ray as well. Because in his higher archangelic vehicle he is the Lord Michael. Yeah? So it's not just 6th ray, he's 6th ray and 1st ray. Yeah? And I saw something not sort of funny but not that funny on Facebook yesterday. And it was a friend of mine who was taking the mickey out of Christians and anybody who was praying at Easter. And it was a cartoon. And it said, if Jesus was here, he'd be giving stick to the bankers. And I thought, yes, he would too. So the sort of the meek and mild 6th ray energy of the Lord Jesus is one facet of the Lord Jesus. But in his archangelic energy, he's the 1st ray. Let's get the stick to move things that need moving, change things that need changing. So what happens with with group work is that we create a Grail, we receive healing, which is very circular through the even rays, the 2nd, the 4th and the 6th rays, yeah. And then once we've received healing, then they send down the will energy, which then goes out. Okay? Now where I will direct the will be different to where you direct it. It doesn't matter. Okay? The point is that collectively we gather and we send it. Okay. Let's talk about the new birth. Because everything's ending, the Pisces age is ending, the end of the astrological years just happened a couple of weeks ago with the movement into Aries. The Great Age, the 25,000 years, is ending. Everything is new again. Now, when everything's new, things need to be built to create a template. Yeah? That's the way life is laid down. It's laid down in templates. Now, to create a template takes quite a bit of work. If you use one in your work environment, you will know that it's wonderful to have a template for something because you've got all that work done and you can just leap in and go from here. But to actually create that template, it takes a bit of a while. So at the moment, for a couple of 100 years from now, I would say, the template for the new earth is being built. Yeah? Just the way the pregnant mother is growing the template for the body for the child who will come, month by month. Now we have sound, and then we have ears, and then we have organs, and this and that, and it takes 9 months. So the template for the new earth and the new root race has to be grown over a couple of 100 years. Yeah? And it's a, what would I know about it? I mean, I have no idea how it happens. I just know it's happening. The reason I know it's happening is I'm clairvoyant and clairaudient, and I'm very inquisitive. So whenever I see things on the inner that I don't know what they're doing, I ask, "Excuse me, what's that?" And so then they tell me, "Oh, this is just part of the laying down of the new template, Chandra." "Oh, thank you for that." And really, it's a building. It's a bit like if I give myself a 3rd degree burn, yeah, my body has the capacity to regenerate it, but it will take some months, and I will need the right medicine. Yeah? So the earth is currently non-sacred. We kill each other. It's one of the non-sacred planets of our solar system. We kill each other. But the template of the earth, the soul and spirit of the earth is sacred, where we live in harmony. Yeah? And so the earth has to be raised to the template. I'm not explaining it very well, am I? It's like the highest vibration of the earth already exists. The same as the highest vibration of your soul and spirit already exists, and you are building your frequency and your vibration through good deeds and qualities and good medicine and food, till eventually you will reach the vibration that your soul is sitting at. Yeah? So that process is happening for the earth over a couple of 100 years, this laying down of the etheric template. Yeah? And so it's a bit like when we work on a group level, then our new bodies, our new cells, our new frequency is being laid down, as well as the building of a better frequency in the area where we work. So however long Michael and Judith have been here working, that's creating an energy field that creates a vortex, and then it attracts in other people. Yeah? So, for instance, across the road under the veranda. Oh, isn't that coincidental? They just happen to be in the area. I turned up a year ago. I went, I got pulled into the vortex. It's because of the work that's been done that's lifting the vibration. So, a bit like, has anybody seen on the news, there's a Category 5 cyclone heading for the Philippines, and they had an image of it. Yeah. Okay. So that's what we're building, a vortex of light that is filled with higher vibration materials that is going to create the new template. Okay? And eventually, just as if I continue to do all the right things with my burned arm, eventually the diseased cells won't be able to exist in the wellness that I'm building. Eventually the diseased cells in the human kingdom will not be able to exist within the new template. Yeah? That's just how it works. Yeah? It's just that it happens over a few 100 years. Yeah? And so we have to learn to think in terms of centuries.
And Australia's playing a very big part in this.
We are, that's right. Yes. Yes, so that's part of the new birth energy, and I'll talk a little bit about the rays that are coming in through this Aries full moon at the moment, and the Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it holds 3 rays. It holds the first ray on a fairly unrefined level. Sort of, you often will see Aries people pushing their way to the foreground, yeah, to be leaders, and they're often very competitive. So it has that sort of competitive edge of the first ray. It also holds the 7th ray for the trying to create structures and identify with the structures. So they're the personality sides of Aries. The soul energy of Aries is the 4th ray. And the 4th ray is about this aligning to the beat of Earth. and respecting the indigenous people and stopping eating the animals, right? And building balance and harmony within nature and our environment. So that's the soul energy of Aries. Now Aries is particularly, the Easter Festival is particularly important because the human kingdom on a soul level has a fourth ray soul. Yeah? So the purpose of all of humanity is all those things I mentioned. Respect for the land, connection to the heart of earth, harmony with nature, working with the seasons, guardianship for the animals, yeah? Protection of the planet, respect for the planet. And so it's an extremely important time for the First Nation people on the earth to be able to come to the foreground every Easter festival. I won't talk a lot about all of that. I'll leave that, I think. Yeah, so that's this window that we have at the moment is to be able to... And what the fourth ray does is it creates chaos in order to move to harmony. And so, when we were kids, they used to have a game where they'd turn the rope. All the girls know this, you have to skip. You've got to stand on the edge and you've got to wait and you've got to get the rhythm with the rope. And then if you don't jump at the right time, that's going to sting. It's going to hit you. But if you manage to get with the right rhythm, then boom, you're in. Yeah? And you're in the middle of the fourth ray and you're skipping with the first and the seventh ray, and the clever girls could do two of them. Yeah? And they'd have the first ray and the seventh ray going around them, and they're in the middle with the rhythm. Yeah? So we have to find the rhythm in the middle of the upheavals and the crisis and the disasters and the wars and the fear that potentially is trying to pull us away. To find the rhythm. That's the fourth. So that's a little bit about the rays that are always operating during the Easter Festival. But the other thing about the Easter Festival that's important to understand is that it holds one of the stages on the path of a discipleship. And the summer solstice and the period of the Christmas festival and the lead up to the new moon is very, very strongly connected to the first initiation and the birth initiation. The Easter festival is connected to the second initiation, known as baptism. Yeah? The third initiation is also connected to the Christmas festival. Yeah? And the fourth initiation is more to do with the major festivals between Easter and the Vesak. So there are many ways the festivals operate. And I guess I would say that in the past, in past ages, individuals were initiated on an individual level. It doesn't happen that way anymore. A soul is not initiated on an individual level anymore. Souls are initiated within their group soul and within group activities. Yeah? Because we are moving to the age of the heart, the age of Aquarius, and things are just done differently. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about so irrespective of where you are on your journey, I would say that most people who are serious students of the ancient wisdom are either striving to shift to the path of discipleship or striving to anchor and bring down the first initiation. The majority of people who are pursuing the path, that's what's happening. It's either a lifetime where you're shifting from what we call the common cross or the mutable cross, the ordinary humanity, onto the path of discipleship, or it's a lifetime where you've done that just recently and you're trying to bring it down and make it integrated. When you read something about the initiations in the esoteric books, it doesn't explain it. I don't think explains it very well, the process of just because a soul has taken, let's say I've taken the first initiation in my last lifetime. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to live that energy. I have to bring it down into the new bodies. Yeah? And that process of descending it's a bit like a good way to describe it, I suppose, is, let's say when I was 11 I learned the 10 times table. But then let's say I haven't used them for 30 years and I've forgotten them. And then someone asks me, what's 3 sevens? It's like, well, I used to know that, but I have to go way back into the archive and sharpen it all up and bring it down through the mental body, through the astral body, through the physical body, until it becomes second nature. Yeah? So that whole process of actualising the gifts and the skills and the wisdom and the light that you already hold on a soul level, that can take some decades. Yeah? And the further along the path we are, the quicker we remember, I know the multiplication, and actually there's other things I know as well. And we download it at a younger age. Yeah? But for most people, let's say in the last life I've taken the first initiation, and I've moved beyond the great challenge of thinking on a group level, yeah? And not harming other people with my body. Yeah? It might take me until I'm 40 to get that together and begin to be up to the point that I was at the end of that last life. Yeah. So there's the whole process of following the path is fraught with danger, depending upon all kinds of things, like what the last death was like and what the current birth was like, because birth and death have enormous impact on our capacity to download our soul light. You know, if I've died in a concentration camp, let's say, yeah, then I get born this time and I have this terrible fear. And that fear is going to create an earthquake in my astral body, and it will stop my soul from coming through. Yeah? And then you think how many tens of thousands of souls had such an experience. And on a soul level, they're disciples. But are they living it? Have they brought it down? Have they managed to get it beyond the fear? Have they progressed? No. Unfortunately not, because if that had happened, we wouldn't be in the state on earth that we are at the moment. So the point of that is that there are less co-workers to work with, because some of our co-workers have been lost along the way through fear, primarily through fear, some of them through self-sabotage. I could self-sabotage myself today, tomorrow. Yeah, you could, but primarily through fear. We've lost a lot of our co-workers. Yeah? So therefore the pressure to do more of the work of the catchment of light and the dissemination of light, it's 24/7. Because there's not enough of us. I talk a lot. Let's talk about the Lady Magdalene. The Lady Magdalene, female master of the 6th ray, wife of the Lord Jesus, she is the Holy Grail that they spent centuries looking for. She is the Holy Grail. And the bloodline were her children, and the children of the Lord Jesus. And therefore we have, on a physical level, descendants of the Lord Jesus and the Lady Magdalene currently on earth at the moment. You know, blood connections. And blood is stronger than water. And of course, to be a soul who is connected so closely through blood probably puts you in an avatarist family. Yeah? I think, and so we are very graced and very blessed with the returning souls, like the Lady Magdalene, whose task it is to lift the feminine to sacred. Now, given that the 4th ray governs the body of the earth, and that the body of the earth has been damaged and raped and pillaged the same as women's bodies have, yeah? Then the energy of the Lady Magdalene and the sacred feminine energy is extremely important, because we can't just hold the Grail in the male energy. It has to be held in the feminine. But And to do that, requires a deep amount of individual healing and therapy and cleansing in the lower chakras.